What is going on? I want to thank you for coming by to Vape with the Viking. So today I have an RTA for you from OXVA, and we are talking about the Arbiter 2 RTA. Little backside there, in case you don't know what that symbol there is. So this is the sequel, or predecessor, whatever you want to call it, to the original Arbiter 28mm RTA. I did that review. It's been a little bit, so but there you go. So there's kind of the Arbiter family right there. If you will see, not a lot of changes, at least in design and everything. We are looking at a smaller device, of course. 24.5mm is basically the bottom base here, and then total throughout is roughly 20, right at 26mm. So it's kind of one of those thin, thick devices, if that makes sense. But we got this on the Rev mod here. I always forget which one this one is. I think it's the Rev Nitro, I believe. It's an older one, but I mean, look, so much black and red. I had to do that. So, but yeah, top airflow RTA, just like the original. They did a couple of changes in there. Definitely did something a little different to the base deck, which we'll take a look at. And what we're running in there today, though, is give a couple shout outs here. One of the Dark Star Labs for the month of October. It's that banana cream pudding. And of course, the coils in there you'll see in the dive down are some Twisted Timmy coils. Bought some coils from that guy, maker out of Texas, doing some phenomenal coil work. It's exciting. So, but yeah, so we're sitting at 0.12, because that's where his aliens come out. Right at about 95 watts for this, just because I'm trying to chase that banana. Show you a little vapor production off of this guy. And yeah, just working really well. I like it. I like the original Arbiter. This one does, like I said, have some tweaks that we'll take a look at. But before we go any farther, it's time for Viking's, I'm going to put awareness moment, because we got two topics I love to concentrate on this channel. One is, of course, Vape Advocacy. One thing I tell you every single time, go on to specifically Twitter and check out what I call our Vape Advocate Generals. That is Grim Green, that is the Vaping Bogan, Matt from Suck My Mod, Phil, Dimitri, all those guys. And there's plenty more. Those are the ones I just remember right off top, are making some great political connections and have been for a while, and fighting every day for all of our rights to vape. So definitely go in there and try to support them where you can. Maybe make your own political connections, especially with your local representatives, so that we can fight the stuff that's going on. Because, here lately, we have some huge issues with the PTMA going on. They kind of, yeah, we won't get into that. They kind of pull little sneaky action. And of course, there's, a lot of people just keep dealing over and over again with their individual states and on federal levels with the vaping tax. So, one thing I will kind of say that on a personal note, we did get into a conversation a couple weeks ago on Facebook when I presented that out to people, said, hey, this is what's going on. And kind of my opinion is, and it's probably not the most popular opinion, but I'd rather it taxed than taken away completely. So, it's kind of one of those whole things you've probably been told by some adult or somebody in your life, pick your battles. It's kind of where I'm at on this one. It's like, you know what? Go ahead, raise the tax a bit. That's cool. Just leave it alone after that. How's that? Tax it, leave me alone. Leave us alone. I mean, that's kind of my soapbox for that. Is, some people are like, oh, we don't need the taxes. It's like, well, if we have to pick or choose, let's go with taxes. I'm just saying, because it's all a money scheme here in the U.S. I'll be honest, and somebody on YouTube might see this and be like, "Wow, kill the channel," but hey, at least I can have this out there. It is. It's all a money scheme, But if we can essentially make it so that the people that are making the money can get more money from vaping, let's do it. Maybe they'll leave us alone. So that's kind of my thought on there. Probably not the most popular opinion, but hey, if you think about it, kind of makes sense. And of course, ADHD awareness, like I tell you all the time, big advocate for ADHD. I got diagnosed over 40. My child has it. Call him the boy, because sometimes he can be the boy. So definitely, it's one of those things that when I was growing up, everybody was like, hey, it's not a thing, it's not real, you just want attention, you're stupid, you're lazy, yada yada. Well, now we're finding so much more out about it because of advocacy. Like for the longest time, even up to 10 years ago, they thought it was a myth that it was genetic. Well, now they proved it. So, but the more advocacy and the more awareness of it, we're going to get more people interested, especially the scientists, doctors, stuff like that, to actually research it more instead of automatically want to criticize it or whatever. Definitely one of the main sources I look to is How to ADHD. It's Jessica Maccabee. She's on, of course, all the social medias, and she has the channel on YouTube, and she does these, well, and all the social media, excuse me. I've seen them on Facebook and all that, but I go to YouTube usually. Go subscribe to her if you have the disorder or someone that you know personally or close to you have the disorder, because she kind of does it awesome. She does it from two perspectives, mostly to help out the person with the disorder, but she'll do videos to help out spouses, children, parents, people that don't have the disorder, and how to essentially kind of cope with that person with the disorder. So, or not really how to cope, but what's the best way to make the relationship stronger, better, and kind of get a little insight of what's going on in their brain. So definitely check her out. Very, very valuable resource. I watch her videos a lot, especially ones that have the title of "Can you do this?" or "Do you have this problem?" type of things. You know, multitasking, is that an issue? Concentration. It's like, yeah, I got to watch that now. And usually, I don't retain a lot, and I can't follow it per step, but there are some things that have helped me there. So definitely check that out. But also check out the TRV Crew Discord. We do have a sub channel in there that is the mental health section in there. And basically, just if you need someone to vent to, if you need someone to confide into, or if you might need even advice, or hey, Viking, what medication are you on? How to be better, so on and so forth. No way, shape, or form. Should put a big disclaimer here. I'm just going to vocalize it in case you're not watching. No professionals are in that channel. Any advice or anything we give you is what we have found out on our personal selves, and in no way, shape, or form saying it's going to 100% work for you, because especially with ADHD, it is so individualistic. Everybody, you put up 10 people with this disorder, even the same age, same gender, same race, all that, doesn't matter. Every single one will have a different quirk or different part of the disorder that's more extreme versus, less extreme. So, especially with ADHD, we can give general, try to give general coping mechanisms or what has worked for me, so on and so forth. But even in my own household, what works for me does not work for my kid. So, it is a very individualistic disorder, but definitely it's there for if you want help, need help, or just to scream and shout because you hate what's going on around you. We're going to be there, give you that virtual hug. So definitely go in there if you can. And yeah, don't be shy. Nobody's going to judge you. And if they do judge you, let me or Spring know, and we'll make sure we judge them harshly. But all right, let's get back to what we are actually here for, and that is to take a peek at that Arbiter 2. So I'm ready. Are you ready? Oh yeah, we're ready. Let's go drop the hammer on the Arbiter 2. All right. So what we got here for you today is a new one by OXVA. This is the Arbiter 2 RTA. So on the front here, you're going to see that leak-proof and fan-shaped airflow. So this is essentially the smaller version of the original Arbiter. They did some differences with their airflow and of course made it a smaller device to be more applicable to more vapors, because the other one was a little bit bigger. I of course liked it. I don't mind a bigger device, but for some of you out there, it was just too big. So, and of course on the side you're going to see here, designed by Justin Lee. If I said that right, I'm so sorry, Justin, if that's wrong. I think I said it wrong last time too. And OXVA, and this is a sample. This is something that OXVA or OXVA had sent to me for the purposes of the review. And of course on the back you're going to have your package contents, a little quick snippet of what they did with this, and of course their information, scratch and check authenticity, your color configuration, and UPC all through here. All right, so in the box you're of course going to get a OXVA limited warranty card. You're going to get the Arbiter 2 instruction manual. You're going to get a package with cotton and coils, and so you guys know I will be using those coils because I want to use what's in the boxes for you guys. And then your accessory bag here, which has your deck screws, your Allen tool, all your O-rings, and they also have a 810 to 510 adapter in there as well. And then you're going to get the device itself and a straight glass. It does have the bubble glass pre-installed, and that cloudiness, that is me. I wash everything before I use them, and I must have not got all the residue rinsed out. So we'll get to that in a bit. But let's go to the bottom first. At the bottom, you're going to, of course, have your Arbiter 2, your serial number or manufacturer number is how they do it, and then Justin's signature there. And then on the bottom, you'll see that it does step down to, I think it's right at 24.5 millimeter. But instead of guessing, let's just go ahead and measure. Right at 24.5 at the very bottom, opens up to about 26 with the bubble. You're looking at about 29 top, 26 again. So yeah, for bases, you can get it on something that fits roughly right at 24.5, but it's going to immediately come out to a taper of right at 26. So most devices it'll fit on and look okay. Take something like the Odin Mini here, it can fit a fairly decent sized device on top, so this probably is not the best choice, but it was just something I had handy right here. But that's how it would look on like a single cell with a pretty big plat. And I could show it on a couple mechs, as you know, no battery in there. So this is my bloody nameless Viking, so nameless V2, which I always house a Asgard on top of that. That's how it would look on a normal, 25 millimeter, 20 up to 26 millimeter mech tube here. Definitely doesn't look that bad. It does kind of shrink down a little bit, so unless you have a tube that has different collars on it or something that you might not like that, then we can go up to something like the Suicide here, which does have a bit of a difference here. Which actually doesn't look that bad at all, to be honest. Like, it's kind of how it steps here and then steps back through the other way. Not horrible whatsoever. But most of you will probably use this on a regulated device. Just of course depends on your vaping preference. But speaking of that, we'll look at the bottom there. We'll look at that 510 pin and the insulator peak, which if you look, the 510 is definitely protruding past the threads, and even the peak is poking out as well. So definitely hybrid safe. Definitely can use on your mech mods or hybrid safe devices there. And then we'll go back up top here. This is your 810 here. The tip is a little different. You can use any 810 drip tips. So like I just had this one handy. They all fit in there just fine. But one thing you want to take a look at is how that steps. So it's gonna look, if you, let's go with a Ragnar tip here. So a bigger tip, of course it's gonna not look as good just because of that step there. It's not going to be flush, so you want to make sure you have what I would say is basically a little bit of a smaller lip 810, definitely a smaller diameter. That's a Hell Vape one that worked real well, but definitely smaller diameter. You don't want to go past here, this lip here, just because it'll look really off and really goofy. But I will say that that tip, that black and red kind of swirl there, looks really good on there. So they I definitely like the look of it and mouthfeel, and it's just really smooth. So did a good job on that tip, and of course it's gonna match. So can use custom 810s. They just have to make sure you don't want to go past that diameter there. All right, and like the original, you do have your airflow. It is top airflow, and it has basically the quarter turn closed. If I actually put it in the light, there we go, quarter turn closed, and then quarter turn open, full stops on each. Of course, on the inside here, you're gonna have your bubble glass. We're gonna take it off real quick, just so one, I can clean it, but two, you can actually see the logos and stuff. But on the top or barrel itself, you're gonna have your OXVA Arbiter here, and of course that logo there. Black O-rings here. Your top fill is that half turn, which I'm really starting to dig. A lot of more manufacturers are starting to do that. I like that half turn. And then you got some O-rings here, your kidney shaped fill holes here, and they did of course slant it again. So it is one of those things, the center or the chimney is up above your kidney shaped fill hole. So if you were happen to be just kind of a messy filler, or you want to make sure you can get as much in there as possible, you can actually technically go past those fill holes, just because that chimney section is definitely higher and that's at a good slant. So you can max out the capacity in this guy if you really needed to. If you're on a trip or just didn't want to carry a juice bottle or whatever, you could definitely do it with this. I did do that with the original a couple times and it worked pretty well. Now, one thing you're going to see when you open this thing up that is different than the original, it does still have that condension top cap chamber, whatever you want to call that. I know I've heard people call it different things. I always called it like the chamber reducer, essentially. Before, it would used to be able to pull out of there on the bigger version. And I do know there were a couple people out there that really did not like that design because they would accidentally like hit their coils with it and this and that. And I never personally had issues with it. So for me, it was perfectly fine. And I actually kind of liked it. So you could test fit it over your build deck to see if anything was going to hit. So there's kind of a pro and a con to this. If you're used to this coming out to see if your build's going to be able to not hit, unfortunately you're not going to be able to do it with this one. But flip side of that coin, this isn't going to fall out at any point in time where it was just secured by like an O-ring and pressure. This is set in here. It does free move, so you can actually sit there and spin it with your finger. As you can see here, it does move, so that part's great, but it is no longer going to accidentally pop out and maybe interrupt your build. Again, I never had an issue with it, but for the people that did not like that on the original, it's been solved, so you're good there. Disadvantage, won't be able to pull it out and check. But now we're going to get to the build deck, and now you'll understand why it's not so detrimental to be able to pull that piece out and test it over your build deck. So here's the new build deck, and as you see, and I've already seen people throw up there like, oh wow, that's the Kylan Mini. It has similarity, as in it's got two big fins. For me, that's all the similarities really look like to me. For one, it is a dual coil setup. You could do one big single coil if you wanted to. You got your peak insulator on this side, so you got your positive here, negative there. So you could do one pretty big massive coil in there. But with their airflow, I definitely would have to say, definitely try this in dual coil first. And as you can see, here's what they mean by their fan airflow. Kind of get both sides here so you can see it. It's, a graduated or fanned out airflow. So you're going to have some come into the bottom through there, and then of course hit these, and that is what's going to fan it out. So you'll see a lot of airflow through the bottom, and then when it hits up into the sides, it's going to be diverted and fanned out. If you see on the inside as well, they're actually angled and pitched on those sides. So it's not just straight up airflow. It's got this whole pitching system to it. So that it should be able to take and really get the airflow around the coil as much as possible. And then here's your wick channels, and it's going to be like any other standard RTA. When you go to wick this guy, you'll want to essentially get your cotton in through here, not tight, especially because this is a very square type of build deck. You can accidentally pack in too much and it'll just literally compress it against this wall. But you just want your cotton to just kind of dangle into juice well here. So down into the bottom. You don't want it to go all the way through and be touching the deck, because that's not good. You just want that kind of just little dangles of cotton past the threading. And some people will actually say it's better to cut it so that it doesn't poke through at all. I'm not into that camp of not poking through at all. I want a little bit, just kind of whiskers hanging down through there. So, but definitely not touching or smashed into that build deck. And we're gonna try a juice in there, a new one from Darkstar Labs this month, Rocket Pop. If you're not familiar with what a Rocket Pop is, if you're here in the US, of course it's like our bomb pops. It's that blue raspberry, cherry, lemon. And Darkstar has been killing lemon and lemonades, so the smell off this thing literally just smells like a melted bomb pop or rocket pop. So that should be definitely really good there. And one thing I did completely forget to point out, I have to give OXVA some bonus points on that. If you see down in there, those are grub screws. People, those are grub screws, not slotted screws. So definitely give them props on that. Dig a grub screw. Way better than a slot. So, but all right, let's get this rolling. All right, we are back up with the Arbiter 2. So again, gave you some specs in the beginning, kind of size, stuff like that. Now, when we talk about price, find it anywhere for like 30 up to, I think, I thought I saw a weird price, like $37.99. So I'd say $30 to $38, more than likely, probably about the $30, $35 ranges. Where are you going to find this guy at? Of course, I can't tell you exactly where. It's called Google it, man, woman, person, whatever. Just go on the internet. Internet's amazing. It's not just for the other thing. And I can't remember if I said it in Dive Down or not. It is a 2 mil or 5 mil with the bubble glass capacity. So pros and cons. Pros, and I'm pretty sure I said this in the Dive Down. Sorry, I've slept, so it all reset. One of the big pros that I would say for the general populace is the difference between like the Arbiter 1 and 2 is I know there were a ton of people that did not like the fact of that chimney piece being kind of almost free floating. It wasn't really free floating. It did have an O-ring and could stay up top, but it was loose enough that most of the time it would probably fall back out. But I think a lot of that also was just the limitation of builds, I think is what kind of most people were maybe actually upset about, because they would hit the chimney with their coils and they were saying it's because the free play of it and all that. And it's like, I personally didn't have that problem, so it did not bug me with the original Arbiter. So, but with that being said, if you did not like that feature, guess what? Now it's in there. It's permanent. I didn't try to pull it out. I wiggled it pretty good, so on and so forth. I don't know for 100% sure if it is permanently in there or if it's just really, really bedded or sat in there really well. But I'm not going to pull it out just in case. But I know under normal circumstances, that thing was not coming out. So that's probably a pro for most, except for some of you out there like, no, I liked it so I can put it down and look and see where my build was. So sorry, then that'd be a con for you. But personally for me, I would say overall it's more of a pro. This is going to hit probably more people that way. I like the fact that it is tapered down. Some of those atomizers get really funky looking when they kind of go super slim and come out and come around. This one doesn't look that dramatically bad. You can definitely tell it does come down, I'd say pretty sharply, but it does not look bad. Now for me though, I still probably wouldn't put it on a mech mod, not because I can't handle it, because I have tried it on a mech mod, but when it goes super skinny like that and then comes out real fat, it does look just off on a mech mod, and that's an aesthetic con for me. So not probably anything most people worry about. It'd be like, wow, dude, don't worry about it. Like I said, it's just me, and I'm reaching for cons because it's really good. I love their drip tip. I guess that would be a con, like I said, for some. Just that lip there, because of that lip, you're going to be kind of limited on, at least aesthetically, what looks good on there. For me, it was great. Black and red, black and red, black and red. We're good to go. So, but for you might be like, I don't like that drip tip. And you got to be a little choosy on a drip tip. So some might not like that. Top airflow, just like the original, works really well. It's very smooth. You can actually tell the difference when you are making minor adjustments. Of course, depending on your build, you'll be able to actually tell. So that's really nice. And that fanned airflow. Now, again, that's going to be a pro and con type of deal. It's all situational. It is going to be dependent on your build. It's going to be on your leg length. And I did say something to OXVA about that, is for the average person that maybe doesn't watch the reviews or maybe is fast forwarding past the part I'm talking right now that you tend to do sometimes, is at least put in there like a recommended leg length in the manual or something, mainly because not everybody watches reviews, and not everybody is going to agree with that reviewer. That's, if I tell you 6mm and you're like, oh, okay, and you try it and you don't like it and you go down to 5.5 and you're like, you didn't know what he's talking about. It's all subjective. So, but at least the nice starting point would have been okay. And I did let them know, hopefully they take that for what it is. But for me, I was playing around with like how close to the fan and how close to each other on the coils, and that took me a little bit through the testing process to get it kind of figured out. Because the first, the two ways you're going to do it is, well, you want to try to get almost under coil air action in some of these, so you want to put those closer to the fans. And the fact that they're so angled, even if you get them closer, it's probably going to roll mostly at the bottom, but still come up off the sides of the coil. Not the case. So try them really close together, because it's like, well, maybe if you're drawing really hard and that fan comes out, it's just meant to kind of surround both coils. Still didn't work that well. So what I found out is kind of basically an in the middle. You want to try to get your legs pretty much straight, or at least the coil straight, no tilting or angling in or out. And that for me worked best, and I think I might even maybe push them out just a touch. But what that allowed, what I think it did at least, I'm not a scientist, but that fan would come in and it would start hitting on the sides, but as you draw, because it is still kind of restrictive, it would also force more air to go under the coils and then, of course, up in between. So if you have them too far out, you're not going to get the stuff on the side, and you got them too close, you're not going to get that air coming through the middle. It is really nice and smooth. I know a lot of people are really used to honeycomb airflows now, and that because it just reduces choppiness and turbulence, but this guy feels restrictive, but it's smooth, and it doesn't matter. Like, that was fully open. If we go to half closed, again, doesn't change any kind of where the air, what it does. It doesn't get choppy, doesn't get turbulent, it doesn't whistle, but of course it gets more restrictive. But even wide open, it's still, I would say, more of a, I wouldn't say restricted direct lung, but it is definitely restrictive. So, but yeah, overall, lots and lots of pros, subjective cons, all subjectives, but there's nothing glaringly out there like it leaks all over the place, the 510 doesn't work, O-rings don't work, any of this kind of stuff. There's really no actual like hard concrete cons. It's going to be a lot of subjective ones, but I will tell you, it definitely has some flavor to it. So, but I do also want to give a shout out to OXVA for sending this to me for the purpose of the review. So thank you so much. We know it won't change my opinion, but I think I'm gonna tell you it's but I'm gonna tell you it's but yeah, definitely good RTA, especially for the price too. So, but yeah, that's all I got for the Arbiter 2 today. Just want to thank each and every one of you yet again for coming to Vape with a Viking, and I'll check you later.